Hello everybody, and welcome back to the FRS Season 6 for Round 8 of this 10-race season, and we are here in Albert Park, Melbourne, Australia. Taking a look at the circuit, it is one that has appeared on every single FRS calendar except for Season 3, so it's been in 5 of the 6 seasons, although some big changes to the circuit this time around that make it a little bit unfamiliar. 5.2 kilometers, 14 corners, as 2 have been removed from this one. The old turns 9 and 10 are gone, and then reprofiles to turn 6, turn 1, turn 3, turn 13. So lots of changes throughout this entire circuit. And turn 3 you can see just in the top there, but best overtaking opportunity is turns 1 and 2 down the front straight. Of course, the big use of the DRS down into that front straight does give you a double dose, though, if you aren't able to make the move into turn 2, which does give you a short rundown to turn 3. A little bit wider of a turn in, a little faster corner, but still very much a hairpin, and is still very much the overtaking opportunity. And then at the end of the third DRS zone, turn 11 used to be turn 13, very much a different profile to this corner, but still another overtaking opportunity. Soft, mediums, and hards, as always. The mediums 1 second per lap slower than the softs. The hards 1.6. It's the only circuit where we see the C5 and then a big gap up to the C3. It's usually consecutive compounds, but the hards will go 25 laps, mediums 19, softs only good for about 10 laps in race conditions, so don't expect to see too many of those in the race sessions once we get beyond qualifying. As the championship stood right here, it is 95 points to Lawrence Boers out in front. LC Fighter on 87. Cryptic has tumbled down 74 points just ahead of Haps Van Dyck, as Queasy Pluto on 65 rounds out the top 5. Now we'll jump on to the circuit as we are into qualifying here. Cloudy circuit, but no rain expected in this one. So flip open the DRS down the front straight for our first attempt at a flying lap here at the Albert Park circuit. Look for this split in the wall at about the 100-meter board. Get on the brakes for the turn in. You can usually try and mount the turn 2 inside curbing a little bit more. The second dose of DRS as that flips open. Now look for this about 100-meter board. Hard on the brakes, a little bit deep. Tiny bit of a lockup on the right front that we had to kind of cadence brake our way out of, but we've run wide through turn 4, and that will invalidate that lap. So we are going to jump ahead now to our second attempted flying run, as there's not enough fuel in the car to go for a second lap. So this time we'll try and keep it in bounds and have a good lap here and see if we cannot improve over our previous run. So there's taking a little bit more of that apex curbing. Not so confident on the throttle, though. We were ahead on the entry but behind on the exit. However, we are coming through this middle sector where we have plenty of opportunity to gain some time. And this time, keep the car in bounds through turn 4. Turn 5, trying to keep it relatively flat out, but is a tiny bit of a lift. Turn 6 is a big change, much more sweeping, and just about keeping the car inside the track limits there. There's a little bit of forgiveness on that curbing by the game's measurements, and we are starting to catch up to our teammate, who is going to go ahead and give us a tow down the next DRS zone. So closing up to the back of Queasy, and we're trading tows this time. A little bit of a sketchy run through the turn 9-10 chicane, picking up that slipstream, getting that little bit of extra straight line speed from that tow. A little bit deep on the brakes into turn 11. That's cost us a little bit of momentum, but the final couple of corners, sweeping right-hander, and then gotta find the braking point. Try to not lock up for this slow, awkward section here, and get the car rotated and on the power as early as you can without the back end stepping out for that final corner. And across the line we go to an 18.8, provisionally P8 at the moment. And we will go ahead and slow up, and we try to give our teammate the tow back next time. So jumping out with 2 minutes left to go in the session, we have fallen to provisionally 10th at this one. So we're going to try and find some improvements to maybe move our way up the grid order just a little bit more. So down into turn 1 we go this time. A little bit more cautious through the turn 2 apex. We do carry a little bit more speed on exit, so we found about 1/10 of a second through the first couple of corners. Now turn 3 and 4. Hard on the brakes, get the car rotated for turn 3. Wait for it to settle on turn 4, get the power down, and try and take the line as best you can. In previous games, turn 5 was easy flat. Now it's a little bit more sketchy. Our teammate just ahead, Queasy, we kind of caught him up in this middle sector. He's going to give us a little bit of a tow and a slipstream. as we come through. Lawrence is off the racing line for us, and we will dip to the inside of Queasy as we just have that extra speed. We'll enjoy that little bit of extra pace that gave us. Keeping it a little bit steady through the turn 9-10 chicane. We've gained about 0.3 of a second nearly of our previous best. We're going to lose a couple of hundredths by not having the toe down that part of the straight. A little better into turn 11 this time. You're going to hear me want to call it turn 13 multiple times because of that's what it used to be. But a better run through the final sector. A little bit of a snap. We're trying to get on the power out of the final corner, but we are going to find about half a second this lap as the DRS is open and across the line, and that puts us provisionally just ahead of our teammate. But we do slow down to give him the toe on his lap to see if we can put him a little bit higher up the grid order. So at the end, MJ Povey takes pole position by just 0.03 of a second over Issei. LC Fighter in third, Habs fan Nick fourth. Our teammate Queasy is in fifth. We are split by the Red Bull of Pepmeister as we are in seventh. F50, a brand new driver to the grid, in eighth. Spenwolf in ninth, and Lawrence down in 10th. So from 7th, waiting for the red lights to come out. It's a decently long hold, a slow getaway, lots of wheel spin for us, trying to get the car hooked up. F50 gets a good launch on our outside. Spen on the other side gets the run. So big lockup from F50. We're expecting him to go pretty deep. We have to kind of bail out onto the grass. We can't get onto the throttle because of that, because of being squeezed onto the grass there. And so now we have the outside of a hairpin as another lockup from F50 ahead. Contact as Lawrence and it looks like Spen came together, and we're just having to tiptoe through these corners. There's a melee happening. We're kind of pinched to the inside. Diamond Ninja slow through there. We are just going to have to tuck in. We've been shuffled back to 10th place now as Diamond is a little bit twitchy out in front of us. We are going to use a pretty low downforce setup around the circuit today, so we are going to burn a whole lot of that overtake energy. We're going to go around the outside of the Haas driver and get ready to take that position down into turn 9. We clear him fully before the braking zone, so we're able to take the racing line. It's very difficult to go side by side through there, and now we got to try and run away. But a virtual safety car is called, and we are going to have to slow down quite a bit for that delta. But Cryptic out of the session, and we're going to jump ahead now to lap 2 as the VSC is getting ready to end. Not our best restart on VSC. Diamond Ninja actually gets a very good run, although the twitchiness of his car has me a little bit concerned into turn 6. So we are going to go ahead and once again burn tons of battery to try and open up that gap. We do seem to have quite a bit of straight line speed through this section compared to the other drivers. So we are catching up to the Red Bull of Pepmeister, who is our chief rival in the Constructors Championship this time. A little bit deep on the brakes through turn 9. That's going to bring Ninja back into play a little bit, lose us a little bit of ground to Pepmeister. So we're going to have to burn more of that overtake, that ERS power. He's going to have a little look to the inside, does Diamond. He's filling up our mirrors, so we're having to keep a lot of a look on that one. And there's some yellow flags behind, but Diamond still seeming to be a little better on the brakes than us. I would assume he's running ABS. Pepmeister has a spin out of the final corner, so that's going to promote us ahead of the Red Bull driver. And with the VSC, we have a brief moment where you have fastest lap of the race, but not a very good run through turns 1 and 2. That is once again going to put us at risk from the Haas of Diamond Ninja. We're going to stay to the inside for a little while until we are sure he's not going to close up on us. And now we have the look ahead of Chuck SRQ, longtime FRS veteran, and typically a driver we find ourselves racing with a fair bit this season. And whenever we get shuffled down the field, we tend to have to work our way past Chuck. A little bit slower than us on pace, but is a robust defender and attacker. So jump ahead, lap 5 of 29, and we've managed to drop Diamond Ninja finally. 2.5 seconds the margin. We are catching up to Chuck, and no ERS. We're having a little look to the outside as we come to turn 9. Side by side, are we going to try and sweep it around the outside? And we were behind at the detection point. Leave him space on the outside, and that will give us the DRS down this straight into turn 11. He's got enough straight line to kind of hold position to where we need to leave space around the outside for him, but we managed to get the job done holding the inside and then park it on the apex so he doesn't go cut underneath us. We have a little bit of a shaky run through the sweeping right-hander, so we have to go defensive into the hairpin. And this is where traction control and ABS can help out in those slow kind of corners where we have to worry about locking up and getting the power down. But we managed to get the throttle down ahead of Chuck. He now has DRS on us. We're having to use a lot of battery to try and hold him off. A little bit of a wiggle he has through turn 2. That's going to cost him some momentum, and we're going to burn down quite a lot of our battery. Now 6/10 the margin to Chuck behind, but the benefit of our straight line speed is we have a little bit of a snap of oversteer getting on the throttle. The benefit of our straight line speed turns into a negative through this kind of infield sections of the circuit because, well, it's because we don't have as much downforce, but we're pushing on ahead. We've gotten it to 7/10 of a second, 8/10. We probably could have taken it outside of the ER or the DRS zone if we had managed to hold it, but Diamond Ninja out, safety car now deployed. So 6 laps into this 29 lap race, and we do know the hards can go quite the distance. So into the pit lane we come. A tiny hesitation as we had to double stack with our teammate, but we are on a set of hard tires to be able to go to the end of the race. That does lose us a little bit of distance to Chuck, but since it's under safety car conditions, no big deal. We come out in 9th and not at risk of being overtaken on track. So jumping ahead now, as Chuck had a spin under safety car, and we get ready to resume racing here on lap 8 of 29. So VSC and a safety car already in this one as the field waits to go. The leaders holding us up for quite a while. Now they've gone, and we get caught napping a little bit. F50 gets a very good run. Issei's got a very good run on Chuck. Of course, Issei started second, and we are going to certainly be watching him in the mirrors, as I would expect his pace to be quite good. But with the concertina effect into turn 1, we managed to close right back up to the pack ahead of us, and now we've got the McLaren of that one kid just ahead. Spenwolf and F50 duking it out just a little bit. And we're going to try and make our way past this McLaren as soon as we possibly can, as he seems to be a little bit shaky on this restart, maybe with some cold tires, so we'll take advantage there. We get a good exit off of turn 6, full power with the overtake button, and he didn't exactly fight it, just kind of moved out of the way, and we are going to use that overtake to make sure we close back up to that 1 second margin to F50 ahead, so that way when the DRS does become enabled, we have the help of it pulling us along. And we're also trying to gap Chuck just a little bit as well, see if we can keep him out of that 1 second margin now that that we are ahead, as he is going to be a relatively tough driver to defend from. But we're creeping up towards the midway point of this race. We're up into 8th after being shuffled back at the start of the race, and now just trying to work our way up towards the lead pack here. So Chuck has managed to stay within 3/10 of us, so a very good run from him out of those last couple of corners. We lost a little bit of ground to F50 and Spenwolf ahead. DRS will become enabled next time by. But we haven't really been able to bolt away from Chuck. He seemed to have the edge on us in the slower parts, slower speed sections of the track, the more downforce dependent. But we do tend to, when we don't have the DRS or slipstream help, we have quite the margin on him on straight line pace. So we are using quite a lot of the battery again. We're down to 52% already. And it is a relatively slow charging track. So we're going to keep pressing on. We have managed to stay within 7/10 of F50 ahead of us. And now Issei is trying to make their move past Chuck. And Issei carrying that 3 seconds worth of time penalties. So they are going to take a little bit of a drop towards the end of this race. But Issei getting by Chuck and will be the next to attack us, and we are in an AlphaTauri sandwich at the moment. It's not a driver that we should be fighting too much with. We should run our own race, I would say. Oh, but a big snap of oversteer out of the final or penultimate corner, and that has cost us dearly, because now Issei is all over the back of us. We are burning lots of battery to try and hold this position, as the DRS had not yet been enabled, and we need to try and catch up to F50. We fell just out of the DRS zone, so we're trying to get back inside that 1 second margin while also keeping our eyes on the AlphaTauri behind us to make sure he doesn't lunge or try and make a move. Make sure we're in a ready to defend position and aware of his proximity. But It's getting very close. We run a little bit wide on the exit of turn 5 there. And into turn 6, it looks like we should just about have the legs. We burn a bunch of ERS to get inside that 1 second margin from F50 when we hit the detection point, although it looks like he's burning a lot of ERS as well. 1 second, 1,001 milliseconds. I think we just about are going to be there. And we do. You see the DRS counting down the distance to the activation line. Rear wing flips open, but Issei's got quite the run on us. We're going to go defensive to the inside. We'll make him go around the outside. We leave space on the exit curbing there. He's got the run around the outside, though, now, so it is going to be tough for him. We're going to give him a little bit of a squeeze, but it's going to switch to the inside for the hairpin. He's got a big lockup, as that's going to put Chuck right involved with us now. We're going to try and kind of squeeze Chuck off to the side as he was not alongside, and that has been our position lost to Issei. So a lap in the making, that little bit of a twitch of oversteer and running wide through the penultimate corner cost us that position. And now look at that, 2.6 seconds behind F50 just from that defensive battle that we had to do against Issei. So only 4 corners, and we lost a second and a half on the car ahead. So we're going to try, if we can, to stay with Issei. Mango is retired and out of this race. I don't believe that is a safety car triggering event. But we still have Mr. Chuck SRQ right on the gearbox of us. These hard tires will go to the end of the race. So we are locked in for no pit stops the rest of the way. I think pretty much everybody was aware of that and did it. So we shouldn't see too many strategic differences. So wiggle over the curbing there of turn 10. That's cost us a little bit of time to Issei. 7 tenths now the margin as we head down into turn 11, and going deep into turn 11 is a huge mistake. That will certainly, in this sector where we've been the weakest, cost us the DRS. That was the detection point we just drove off. So now we are back to attempting to defend from Chuck with no DRS help. We do have some battery in reserve, and we are going to push on and see if we can't catch back up to Issei, and now Spenwolf ahead as F50 has made the move. But it's not ideal. It's not a great situation for us to be in, having to defend from the car behind. Right about 1 second the margin again. We do have that long kind of sweeper section. I won't call it a straight. It is kind of the back straight, but it's not really a straight because it wanders so much. So now F50's made a mistake, and Issei's gone through. F50 is able to recover just ahead of us, but he is relatively slow on the get up. We are going to burn quite a bit of battery, use the slipstream, try and find a way past, go to the inside of this meandering portion, and that will get us fully ahead and is enough as well with that battery. We're down to 6% though to close to the DRS of Issei. We're going to jump ahead lap 15 of 29 as Issei has made their way past Spen. We still have F50 behind us. Spen into the wall, out of the session, and luckily ghosted before we had absolutely nowhere to go. We were trying to take avoiding action, but you can see that cost us quite a bit of time to Issei ahead, a good 0.6 of a second, and that's put F50 right up the diffuser of our car. So now, with the low battery once again, we are trying to press and use what overtake we have left to make up this 0.2 margin to try and get back in the DRS and have some help. But we've got to try and save some to if we don't make it to defend. And look at that, they're streaking away from us. They use a lot of battery out ahead of us. And with when you're under 10%, it actually deploys at a slower rate than before. We do have just about enough legs to hold the position without using overtake ahead of F50. But we're going to jump ahead now, lap 16 of 29, as we've caught up this fight with Lorenz, Issei, and Habsvan Nick, who are going quite slow, these two, as they duke it out ahead of us. And we're just going to have to try and be as careful as we can. We go onto the grass as Issei locks up. That's going to put F50 on the outside of us. We're going to try and leave some space, and a little bit of contact between us and F50. That's slowed us up quite a margin and is now going to put him on the outside. So we're burning overtake and utilizing the DRS. We have to stay to the inside defensive. He's going to slot in, try and cut back. A little bit of nose-to-tail contact as we had to take a less than ideal line across turn 2, but no harm, no foul, and we are once again closing up to this battle. Issei snuck through Habsvan and is on the outside of Lorenz. A little bit of a mistake and maybe a little wiggle between them as we close up to this battle. We're going to try and coast our way in, and looks like there's a little bit of contact between Lorenz and Habstrand. We have a little touch with Lorenz, and that's going to do a little bit of damage to our right front wing. It doesn't pop up and give us the notification, but we have taken a bit of damage. That's going to drop us behind F50 Chuck and Petmeister, and I was trying to be cautious into that corner. It looked like the little bit of contact between Lorenz and Habstrand Nick caused Lorenz to slow up. I was not trying to go up that gap. I thought Lorenz would at least try and, trace out to the outside line, but he kind of pinched on the inside, and there wasn't really anywhere we could go there. Jumping up ahead now, lap 20 of 29, we are catching up with Chuck SRQ, and now I didn't notice from the incident that I had the damage, and well, we're closing up on Chuck. He kind of stays defensive to the inside right as we arrive. We're lucky to avoid any kind of contact with him trying to make the way through. But even with this damage, we've got okay pace, although likely will prove to be a little bit more painful. And that was also the reason why we were struggling so much more in the middle sector than we were in the first couple laps in our medium tire stint. And it was enough where the car didn't feel off. It felt like it may have been just the tires going off. It wasn't until I actually brought up the damage display that it was showing that very faint kind of lime green that indicates the damage. But we are having to burn quite a lot of battery power to stay ahead of Chuck in this one. And if we can manage to lock down the P8, that's the ideal situation. We are losing ground to LC Fighter ahead. We've lost a lot of ground to Petmeister as well, who we were quicker than earlier in the race. But now, with the damage to the front wing, we are proving to not be as quick as we were or as we could be. Now, do I think it would have been worth it to maybe pit and get a front wing change? Probably not. You lose a good 22 seconds around here in the pit lanes, and then if you're changing a front wing, you're going to lose close to 30 seconds to the field, and I didn't think it was... by the time I noticed it, I didn't think it would be worth it to do that. So I ended up just staying out. And there you can see I've pulled up the damage display, and now I'm realizing, oh, I've got a damaged front wing. I'm also checking tire life as we are getting to about 60% where the grip drop-off is significant. We've fallen behind Chuck in this one as that wing damage kind of mounted, and we're trying to build an attack. We were burning a lot of ERS just to stay ahead of him and defend. And so I kind of took... It wasn't so much a gamble. There was one straight where he was almost certain to get by us anyway, but I decided that I would spend essentially 2 laps recovering energy, although I've fallen just outside 1 second, so I'm having to burn some of that ERS from a bad run through turn 5, or turn 6, to get back in the DRS. And I was trying to save some ERS, at least enough, and then be in the DRS range on the final lap to have a go at him down into turn 11 the last time. So the safety car in VSC means we're pretty heavy on fuel, 1.2 laps overweight, essentially. But now we have got to just try and stick with Chuck through this little end section of the lap. And then I think we might have an opportunity to have a go at him on the final lap of this race. We open up the DRS, try and close up without using any overtake. There's only one detection point for these 2 DRS zones, so even if we had fallen just outside of a second, we still would have had DRS between turns 2 and 3 opening here. And we are starting to close up onto Chuck. So it was all about trying to save the battery, get close out of the turn 9-10 chicane, and make one last gasp of a maneuver into it. He's had a bit of a poor exit from turn 5. We have a much better run through turn 6. I was also kind of hoping he might make a mistake and pick up a 3-second time penalty, but there you can see us burning all kinds of battery, closing up to the back of him. We're at about 10%. It's the last overtaking opportunity, so if we're able to make the move into turn 11, that would be the key. And now it's all about the exit. Overtake on, DRS open. Is he going to cover the outside or the inside? Late, he covers the inside. We have to make a late choice to try and switch to the outside, but he has the car planted perfectly for him. Honestly, really great defensive driving from Chuck. I tried to dummy the inside and switch it to the outside, but he didn't fall for it. He stayed right in the middle of the track, made me make a choice, and by the time I tried to make my switch back, I had no opportunity to actually get by him. So props to Chuck on that one. Great defensive driving. We come home ninth. He was able to stay out of any kind of track limits trouble. And that is the end of that race. MJ Povey returning to the top step of the podium. Our teammate, Queasy Pluto, comes home second. Haps fan Nick picking up another podium in third this time through. So a bit of a disappointing race. I think we could have been near the top 5 if we hadn't had the incident with Lawrence earlier in the race. Of course, that wing damage didn't help, and also just being shuffled behind 3 cars and having to claw our way back through just wasn't ideal, and it wasn't a situation where a pit stop would have helped me. I wasn't losing so much time with the wing damage that I needed to come in and make the change at that point. So, a bit of a disappointing drive in Australia. Lucky to still bring home some points in spite of all the nonsense, but final classifications, MJ Povey out in front, Queasy second, House Nick third. SA came home fourth, LC in fifth, F50, which I think we were pretty much on pace with, maybe a little quicker. We could have been fighting with him for sixth there. Petmeister in seventh, Chuck SRQ in eighth, ourself in ninth, and that one kid rounds out the top 10. Lawrence finished outside the top 10, but did grab the fastest lap, but no points because the outside lap, the top 10. Spen in 12th is the last man running. Vickers, Mango, Diamond Ninja, and Cryptic, the retirements for this race. But thank you guys for joining me once again. We will get back. The season is technically over now, and I'm getting caught up on some of these. So I will have the next race, which is Imola, up soon, and then get work on Brazil. But I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.